Hi, I want to give you a biblical perspective in which I call when to step in and when to step back. Let's be real for a moment. When we see someone struggling, our first instinct is to help, whether it's a friend, a family, or even a stranger. We often feel this pull to fix this situation. I've been through this before, we might say, or I know exactly what you should do. We dive in with advice, solution, or even action meant to smooth things over. But what if, and hear me out, what if God doesn't want us to intervene? What if that person's pain and struggle are actually part of a process God has planned for their growth? Think about Job. His suffering was immense, yet it wasn't random. God allowed it as part of a larger plan, a test, a growth opportunity, and ultimately a lesson for Job and those around him. Not just for Job, but those around him. Imagine if someone had swooped in to fix Job's situation prematurely. Would he have learned the depth of God's sovereignty and faithfulness? Would his friend have been confronted with their flawed perspective? Sometimes stepping in too soon might short circuit what God is trying to do. Now, let's connect this to parenting. If you constantly if you're constantly correcting every little thing your child does wrong, you're not giving them the chance to learn from their mistakes. Sure, it's hard to watch them stumble, but stumbling is part of growing. The scraped knees of childhood teach perseverance and resilience. In the same way, the struggles of life shape us into the people God created us to be. Let's jump into the scripture of an eye opening example. Remember when Jesus told his disciples he was going to Jerusalem to suffer and die? Peter, full of good intentions, tried to stop him. Never, Lord, Peter said. But Jesus' response was sharp. Get behind me, Satan. You are a stumbling block to me. You do not have in mind the concerns of God, but merely human concerns. Jesus knew. He knew his suffering was necessary for the salvation of the world. If he had listened to Peter, the entire plan of redemption would have been derailed. Good intentions, but wrong timing. So, what does this mean for us? It means that sometimes we need to pause and ask ourselves, am I stepping in because I'm led by God or because I'm uncomfortable with someone else's pain? Pain and struggle are uncomfortable for us and for the person experiencing them, but they are often the tools God uses to grow us. Now comes the $1,000,000 question. How do we know? How do we know when to step in and when to step back? This is where prayer and discernment comes in. Before jumping into a situation, take a moment to pray. Ask God, is this a moment where you want me to act? Or are you working something out in this person's life? Look for guidance in scripture. Sometimes God will call you to be his hands and feet. Other times he'll whisper, not this time, not this time, trust me. Let's make it practical. Imagine you have a friend who's struggling financially because of poor decisions. Instead of immediately offering to bail them out, consider this. Will stepping in help them learn better stewardship, or will it enable the same patterns? Maybe God is teaching them to rely on Him instead of others. On the other hand, if someone is in immediate danger, physically, emotionally, or spiritually, it might be a clear sign to step in with God's wisdom and love. To wrap up, let's remember we are not called to fix everyone's problems. Sometimes God uses us as instrument of His grace. Other times He asks us to step aside and trust His process. It's not always easy, but when we seek His guidance, He will show us the way. So next time you're faced with the choice to step in or step back, take a deep breath, pray, and listen. God's got it, and He'll let you know if He needs your